Some people might show up for the show just for the first segment that I do. I love CrypticCorner. I love talking about some weird stuff. And today's CrypticCorner is kind of weird because, well, let me tell you how I got here. There's a little bit of a story to it. Okay, so the YouTuber, the paranormal YouTuber, or whatever you want to call them, L.A. Marzulli, is at it again, but this time he didn't just do it by himself. It wasn't just, oh, LA is doing some weird stuff I need to talk about. No, this was him citing none other than Tucker Carlson. And they're talking about something that actually happened around here, right? Like just a few years before I was born. Cattle mutilations. Tucker Carlson had a series come out on cattle mutilations. So anyway, let's see what LA has to say about it. And then we will where's the layout? There we go. And then we actually like this one better. And then we'll explore what Tucker's actually out there doing, okay? Yeah, here we go. This is gonna.
First of all, let me apologize for the distortion in yesterday's in post.
Okay, so before I get started, the reason I'm so far into it is because he has this gold ad that takes up like 1/5 of his stream, where he talks about buying gold. Well, I guess part of it's his intro too, but his intro is actually pretty cool. I like the layout of his intro with the aliens and stuff. But yeah, I did watch his stream the other day too. I torture myself by watching this stuff. I'm going to tell you all that pretty regularly throughout. And this is what I listen to, like in my little earbud while I'm at work and stuff. I do listen to atheist content a lot, but most of the time I listen to people who I want to argue with, people I disagree with. People who I think are saying dangerous or misinformative things. And LA is one of these people. And Tucker Carlson, who he's citing, is one of these people. So, yeah. That is a nice garden. He's got these wildflowers over here.
We were on a mount, and we've noticed that sometimes it's distorted, sometimes it's not. John Adam was working camera 2. With the audio, I had a lapel mic on. He did not hear any distortion in his headphones, so I apologize for that. Maybe something else is going on, something technical, something supernatural, I don't know. But we're in Pennsylvania right now, taking a couple of days seeing Peggy's family, but it doesn't stop what we're doing. And of course, Tucker Carlson was talking about cattle mutilations, and I'll get to that first, and then of course we'll get to the professor on the other side. In Watchers, our very first film on Watchers,
I'm not ready to slow down just a little bit.
LA.net. Watch it, download it, learn something. We talked about cattle mutilations years ago. I wrote about them in my first book, Nephilim. Look, they're real. They happen. And law enforcement has never brought anyone any charges at all in decades and decades and decades of the phenomenon happening. So let me tell you what it is. So, you got a head of cattle, maybe 50 head, whatever, and it's getting in your dust. So you go out there in your 4x and you check them, and everybody's, laying down and it's low.
And I'm going to say that there's a reason why we don't see people getting arrested for cattle mutilation. We'll get there in a minute, okay?
And everything the cows do, everything looks really good. So you go home and have a nice dinner, and you sleep in, and next morning you get up, and there's buzzards flying around the pasture where you had all your head of cattle bedded down for the night. So you get out there, and the herd is on
buzzards, you say? Interesting.
On one section of the field, but you instantly notice that the buzzards are circling, but no buzzards have landed. There was a cow laying on its side.
How do you know no buzzards have landed? You said you just got out of bed. You just climbed out of bed. Buzzards start early. And he says buzzards, in North America, buzzards are something different than they are in Europe. Because buzzards are there's a real species that's common name is buzzard. It's not related to what we call a buzzard over here. It all doesn't even look like it, because what we call a buzzard in North America, at least in certain parts of North America, is the turkey vulture or the black vulture. Usually the turkey vulture is what we call a buzzard, though. which is the turkey vulture looks like your typical vulture. It has the bald pinkish colored head. It has brown to black feathers. It circles in the sky, has really broad, narrow wings for soaring, spends most of its time soaring. When it goes from roosting to soaring, doesn't really land unless it's eating, spends most of its time up there. Buzzards are what a real buzzard is from, I want to say they're from Eurasia. They might live in, there might be species in Africa too. Someone could fact check me on that, but they don't have bald heads. They aren't vultures. They're completely different clade. So when L.A. Marzulli says buzzards, he's talking about turkey vultures or black vultures. Black vultures are just like turkey vultures. They're a little bit smaller and their heads aren't pink, they're black. That's the difference. They're still bald though. All right, to move on.
So you figure, wow, I wonder what's going on, because you don't know. And you get up there, and immediately something is weird, something is strange. Because what you see is that the cow's jaw has been completely surgically removed. It's been excised. All the flesh has been
surgically removed. Does that look surgically removed? So when animals like the vultures that we were talking about, like the foxes and the coyotes and all the little critters that are going to come and start nibbling on a dead cow. When the cow first dies, the mucous membrane desiccates. It desiccates, loses blood flow, and that is where these scavengers start. They start on the lips, they start around the anus, the genitals, the ears, the eyes, the nose. That's where they start. So if you disturb scavengers at just the right time in the consumption of your dead cow, it is going to look bizarrely like something was cutting the lips and the buttholes out of your cow. And we'll get into the butthole stuff a little bit more, but let's continue what LA says.
Be taken out of it. You look at the cow's udders; they have been surgically cored out. The anus has been surgically cored out. You sit there and you go, "Oh my gosh!" So you call law enforcement.
Okay. I want to say good luck on your double date, Robbie. Sounds like it's going to be fun. It's her best friend, so you got to be on your best behavior. Put that good foot forward. Don't pull up any pictures of this on your camera, because then you might get people talking. And safe travels, Robbie. All right, so I said I was going to get into the buttholes. So when your cow could still look completely fine and have been hollowed out, because that's what vultures are good for. They crack open that corpse and they just pull out the everything from the back door. Coyotes will pretty much climb inside the back door of a cow to get all those soft innards. Because I don't know if you know this, but cattle have really thick hide. That's why we use them to make leather and to make protective gear. Even for the longest time, that was the primary source of protective gear. And there was a reason why we use cowhide, because it's so thick and dense and resistant to puncturing. That's why cows do so good in their environment, because predators have a hard time breaking their skin. That's why you see big cats with huge claws and teeth, and bears with big claws and teeth, because it's hard to puncture cattle's skin. So when they're laying on their side, you can't puncture their hide, but you sure can get to that soft mucous membrane that's been desiccated for a couple of hours as that cow lays there on the ground, and they tear it in that way and crawl literally inside the organism to get at the soft parts.
You call a veterinarian. The veterinarian comes out, he does a necropsy on the cattle. He finds out that there's no blood in the cattle. This has been going on.
Now, no blood in the cow. It's always been an interesting claim about cattle mutilations, but I've not seen any legitimate veterinary reports where the veterinarian is cited as saying that there's no blood in the organism. So I would be willing to look at that and kind of speculate on it, but I don't think that is something that's being said.
Literally for decades, specifically in the Southwest, but also in Kansas. In fact, we did an interview with a woman who came on the record and talked about her experience as a rancher with cow mutilation. And as I said earlier, law enforcement has never brought anyone into court or charges against anybody because there are no perpetrators. It's something supernatural.
Because you don't arrest coyotes and buzzards. There's no statute to prosecute them for criminal activity for nibbling on your cow's face. That's just not something that's gonna be option for you as you deal with the loss of your cattle. You can't prosecute the scavengers.
If you look at this clip from Tucker's show, you'll see that the cows are in the forefront, but in the background we see a disc and the cattle being flown up into the ship. People have reported seeing that. In my opinion, that's exactly what's going on. So you say, LA, why are they doing this? We've talked about this before. The blood of cows, bovine blood, can be substituted for humans. Now, this is where it goes off the rails. And Tucker has not even broached the subject yet. He's sort of dancing around the perimeter of really what the end game is. The end game, as Tucker said decades ago, is to create hybrids, purebreds. Jesus warns us.
Oh, here we're going to get into the reasons why. Ring, this is going to be your favorite part of the show today. He's talking about using cow blood to sustain human alien hybrids. Let's continue.
Like the days of Noah, when he returned. What differentiates the days of Noah? Of course, it's the presence of the Nephilim. What are the Nephilim? The hybrid of fallen angels, women of earth, combining that DNA to create a hybrid.
So it's going to be a hybrid of angel and human, male angel, female human, combined with cow blood.
Entity known as the Nephilim. Well, the same thing is going on now. We've interviewed people who have been abducted, specifically women who have been abducted. Guess what? They talk about being impregnated. And in the first trimester, they're re-abducted, the child is taken from them. Now, I can't prove this. It's conjecture, but it's based on lots of research.
Okay, so abductees do report things like being inseminated or having a fetus extracted from them. This is also, I don't know if you know this, but a very common type of night terror that people have, something inside them, especially if someone has a stomach ache when they're sleeping. You might have dreams about pregnancy and birth. Or I had a dream one time that I gave birth to a owl. It was gross. I gave birth to like a featherless owl. Yes, that way. The same way that the vultures got into the cattle. That's the way the featherless owl came out. This was back when I was during the same time period when I was having my sleep paralysis. So, once once your brain gets into this weird hypnopompic cycle where you're having irregular sleep patterns and disrupted REM cycles. My biggest problem, I think, at the time was I didn't have like blackout curtains and we had big bay windows, but I would just sleep in there anyway. I think that maybe some of the lights and some of the noise too that might have been disruptive during the day when I was sleeping, because at the time I was working overnights, caused those sorts of things. So when it comes to sleep paralysis and night terrors, hypnopompic dreams, it's important to look at the stressors in the person's life and the changes that they've gone through or what they're doing with their sleep cycle regularly, because that will come into play, and it does exacerbate those conditions. I've not had that problem since. I haven't worked overnights since then either, though. So that comes into play as well. This was like a 2015.
Linda Moulton Howe's award-winning documentary "Strange Harvest" talked about this, and I saw this way back in the 90s, and it's very unsettling to even get into this because something really weird is going on. But she talks about the fact that all the blood is drained from the cattle. Well, now that we know that bovine hemoglobin, bovine blood can be used in human transfusions. So this is what is conjecture on my part, but it's based on lots of research. They, all right, the Greys, the fallen angels, are using this blood from the cattle when they reabduct a woman in the first trimester and they take the child out of her womb.
This is so much speculation here, right? Yeah, I know. Citing Tucker Carlson is a red flag. Always a red flag. Tucker Carlson can report things that are true, but if he does report things that are true, I almost guarantee he's putting his own spin on it, his own outlandish spin on it. Usually, that something that's not backed by the data. He's just saying things because he's an entertainer. He doesn't have to be responsible for his own actions and the results of his actions. When some mass shooter cites Tucker Carlson as an inspiration for their ideology, he doesn't have to take responsibility for that because he's just an entertainer.
Child is put in some sort of an artificial womb, and they're using the blood of cows to do it. Well, I can't prove that. What I can tell you is this: we have heard.
Wait, so query. As part of the IVR process, the first section of the first trimester is done artificially. Generally, the eggs are fertilized and everything. So that's something we already know. The first part can be done artificially outside of the womb. It's weird how you're kind of flipping it and saying, "Oh, the aliens let the woman carry it for the first trimester and then put it in the artificial womb," whereas our IVR technology finds that what we can actually do is we can do at least portions of the first trimester artificially and then put it into the womb separately like that. They used to call them test tube babies. They don't do that so much anymore. Now most of everything's done inside, but they did used to grow the fetuses or the zygotes in test tubes for, I don't know what the time frame was, but it's weird that you're kind of flipping it and saying what the aliens can do is they can raise it from second trimester on. And our science seems to indicate that it's going to be that the first part's going to be the easiest to do synthetically, and then the rest of it's where it has to go into a real womb in order to develop. So it's kind of a weird flip so we can do the first part and aliens can do the second part. We should get our tech together and then we can do the whole thing.
From people who have been on board the ships and have seen rooms filled with vats and different fetuses, different babies in developing. So that's what it's for. Now Tucker danced all around that, but they never drilled in on why are they doing this? What's the end game?
Tucker always dances all around it. LA, how long have you been watching the dude? He's not ever gonna. Tucker's good at. One thing Tucker's good at is generally not saying the quiet part out loud. He lets more outlandish folks like Alex Jones or Andrew Tate, people like that, say the more outlandish stuff out loud. Tucker will generally keep it pretty dog whistly until things boil over, at least.
What's the end game? It is truly a strange, very strange harvest. As I said earlier, it's been ongoing. I want to address a couple of other things. We do, just for you newcomers that are here, first of all, hit the subscribe button. Second of all, thank you for coming here. But we do.
Thank you. Yes, hit the subscribe button. If you are not a subscriber to, yes, I'm just putting you on the microphone. Calm down. She's like, "What are you doing poking at me?" She was climbing. I'm like, "I gotta hurry up because I want to talk about this." Now I forget what I was saying, but yeah, hit the subscribe button like LA told you to. LA's not talking about hitting his subscribe button. He's telling you to subscribe to Bree. He's saying, Bumblebee is one of the best YouTubers who responds to me, so please subscribe to her.
3 different shows. We do On the Trail of the Nephilim, where you saw Mondo and I standing near the so-called alligator mound in Ohio, and we did a Q&A there, which I thought was really good. And again, because we had problems.
And we can go back and watch this stuff that he does. It's all gold. It's all like if you like watching me dunk on woo-woo stuff and address bad science and bad archaeology, because our boy LA does both in droves. then yeah, I can keep returning to this guy. I like engaging with his content so far anyway. I mean, he doesn't say anything too dangerous. I mean, the stuff he says is kind of dangerous. I mean, alien embryos and whatnot, but for the most part, it's just like really out there kind of theories and things. He'll take like people like Tucker Carlson, who are sort of woo adjacent, but still mainstream, and he takes it full extreme. Yeah, Tucker Carlson talks about cow mutilation. L.A. Marzulli is going to talk about that they're using the blood that's straight from the cows to raise Nephilim fetuses, and he has a lot of shows. He's very busy. He's very prolific. So we can definitely milk lots of content from this guy. We can have a good time with L.A. Marzulli. So we will be revisiting him.
With the sound, but we didn't hear it when we were recording it, so something weird. But we do armature and Nephilim. We do UFO update on Wednesdays usually, but because of our schedule being on the road, it's today. Here we go.
Now, be of the understanding that LA's idea about UFO abduction is supernatural. It's not. I mean, he thinks that this is biblical stuff. He's not a person whose ideas are that this is something from another planet, another species per se, but that it's actually the gray aliens or angels, things like that.
And then, of course, we do supernatural confrontations, where I do a Zoom chat with people that have had supernatural experiences, whether they're incredibly angelic and wonderful, or they're of a demonic part where they call out to Jesus and then they're delivered. So if you're coming...
So that is mostly talking to people who are experiencing sleep paralysis in some capacity. I've watched several episodes of that. It's like interviews with people, which is kind of what I did on the Perspective. So I like doing those kind of conversations too. And I will say that most of the ones that I had that were about demonic or angelic experiences seem to come down to a state of sleep paralysis. Like almost universally kind of draw correlation there, right?
Coming here as a Bigfoot enthusiast, I do talk about Sasquatch sometimes, but not often. So that's a fun. Usually Monday is supernatural confrontations. Tuesdays is on the trail of a Nephilim. Wednesday is UFO update. Thursday on the trail of a Nephilim. And of course, we close out the week with supernatural confrontations. And we will post probably 2 shows today because we've been on the road.
All right, come on, you're plugging all your stuff.
So years ago, actually, about the Peruvian DNA. Interesting. So they went to him because what they're
Peruvian DNA is not a thing. There's haplogroups. Is that what you're talking about? The haplogroup of Native Americans that lived in Peru? Is that what you mean when you say Peruvian DNA?
What they're discovering is people that have had close encounters of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th kind. In other words, you're on board, you're in proximity to the ships. Something happens mentally, and it's not good. There are medical conditions that accompany this type of close encounters.
So you're making a causation correlation claim there. Is it possible that instead of the condition being symptomatic of the encounter, maybe the encounter is symptomatic of the condition? You see correlation of all these people are developing these medical conditions after they have these experiences. Maybe the experience is a result of the medical condition. It's food for thought. But I don't think Tucker goes nearly as crazy as LA does. Unfortunately, unless someone has a Fox Nation account that they want to give me the password for, because I'm not paying for Fox Nation, I can't watch the full Tucker Carlson show about the cattle mutilation. Here's a trailer for it, though. Let's watch the trailer.
We found a dead bull, not one drop of blood, and the
Come on.
And the scavengers won't eat it, and it doesn't rot. And I said, what? Over the past 40 years, more than 10,000 animals have been killed in very strange ways. The mammary glands, the udders, brain was gone, it's cored out like a just...
It's what scavengers do. These are ranchers. They act like they've never... See, maybe it's just because of the point during the consumption of the corpse that the scavengers were disturbed during, because it's the lips and the getting the inside and going on in through the back door. Excuse me just a second. Let me have a rasp in my throat. I'm ranting again, saying the same thing over and over again. Let me just let it play.
The mystery has overwhelmed law enforcement.
There's no evidence to point to one thing or another.
To go replicate that and not leave evidence.
I think the evidence that is going to show that this is the work of scavengers. I've yet to hear a compelling reason why this couldn't be the work of scavengers.
I don't think that would be possible. People see helicopters, branches, think it could be bacteriological weapons testing.
Lots of speculation. Aliens coming and taking our animals.
It's the greatest unsolved serial crime spree in history. So we took up the case ourselves.
Tucker Carlson Originals, Cattle Mutilation, streaming August 11th, only on Fox Nation. Sign up at foxnation.com.
So you see it's streaming, but I am not paying for Fox Nation, not 99 cents, not 7-day free trial for 60. I'm just not going to do it. But if someone wants to and has an account for that, or your grandma has an account and the passwords, we could do a screening of the whole show in with the group if that's something people would be interested in watching. We'll tackle that like on Discord or something. That would be fun. Okay, so there's our Tucker Carlson show about that. But this was a little bit longer. Here's another trailer. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of what LA's basing this on.
We found a dead bull. It's missing its reproductive organ.
Right, remember what I said. Scavengers start with the soft mucous membrane parts of the organism: genitalia, anus, eyes, mouth and lips, nose. That's just where they're going to start, because again, cows have extremely thick hides, very famously thick hides. It's not like that's. I don't know why that's not being addressed here. That that they're eating this part, and these parts are being targeted because they're softer. These expert surgeon aliens that are supposed to be cutting these organisms up, why can't they cut through the cow's hide? It seems like they're just focusing on that soft mucous membrane.
It's missing its testicles and its penis, and its tongue is gone.
Right? Testicles, penis, tongue. Do those match the category that I just laid out? I think they do.
And I said, what?
A single drop of blood may be found on the hoof, nothing on the ground, and the scavengers won't eat it, and it doesn't rot.
See, and those are interesting claims there, too. That's why I want to watch the show. I want to see where these claims are coming from. Are they coming from the on-site law enforcement that reported the animal, the veterinarian, or are they coming from the animal's owner? Are they coming from crime scene investigators? Who's making this claim? Are they coming from EMTs? Or is it these meat cutter guys that they keep cutting to? Because that's what I believe. That's what these two guys with the beards are like butchers who cut meat for a living.
There are at least 10,000 cases in the United States.
The Harvey County Sheriff told people to be on alert after someone removed organs from a vault.
And remember what I said about coyotes and vultures too. They will literally climb into the anus of a dead cow. It's in through the anus or the genitals. They don't really. It's a certain point they chew their way through and kind of make one opening. Anyway, but. Yeah, they'll climb literally up in there and hollow that cow out, and you won't even be able to see that the cow's been touched. Looking at the rest of it,
We haven't solved any of them. It's almost.
And who's saying that they've been surgically removed? That's kind of a question I have here too. Who is saying that these are surgical marks and not made by the razor sharp beak of a hungry turkey vulture.
There's no evidence.
The sheriff's department doesn't have any leads at the time.
If you asked us to go replicate that process and not leave evidence.
Yeah, the bearded butchers is who these guys are. You know, when I start talking about investigating the way that a animal has been found, what state it's been found in the wild, I don't go to a wildlife expert. I don't go to like a park ranger or a game warden. I go to some social media butchers.
I don't think that would be possible.
It kind of freaked a lot of people out. Aliens coming and taking our animals.
See, this trailer is more straightforward about it being aliens. They just had her say aliens coming and taking our animals. When you saw the other trailer that she said people speculating that animals are coming to, or people claiming that animals are coming to take, or aliens are coming to take our animals.
It's the greatest unsolved serial crime spree in history.
Tucker Carlson originals. So, yeah, that's that one. And this has a little bit of article on it. I'm just gonna browse real quick. Fox has obtained shocking exclusive video of cattle mutilation scenes from San Luis Valley in southern Colorado. It's the greatest unsolved crime spree in history, says author Chris O'Brien, who recorded the video. He wrote about his findings in his book, Stalking the Herd, Unraveling the Cattle Mutilation Mystery. The video depicts the grisly nature of more than a dozen cattle mutilations. Mutilations differ from typical livestock deaths because the carcasses are found with body parts removed in an unusual fashion. I disagree that it's an unusual fashion. It's the state or point at which the scavengers were disturbed. It's unusual. That's why it looks unusual, because they usually continue to consume the cow, but they've been disturbed at a point where they only consume the soft tissue and organs that they access first. The never seen before footage is featured in the latest episode of Tucker Carlson Originals, which is available now on Fox Nation, which sucks. Do not subscribe to Fox Nation. They don't have anything good on their channel at all. This is the only thing I've ever seen on Fox Nation that I wanted to watch, and I only want to watch it to dunk on Tucker Carlson. That's the only reason. So if you subscribe to Fox Nation, please do so ironically. I guess would be the best way to put it. Okay, so yeah. Investigators kind of agree there were upwards of thousands of cases just alone, just in Colorado alone. Investigators kind of agree. What's that about? Why do they only kind of agree? Maybe because some of the cases that you're lumping together in your thousands don't necessarily match all the criteria. This was always my big issue with David Politis, the missing 411 guy, is that he bolsters the numbers, but if you start picking apart the cases individually that fit the criteria of his missing 411, you start to see discrepancies, like, oh, well, this one didn't meet this criteria, but it met these two criteria, things like that. It's like, oh, well, we just included in the list to bolster the numbers because it doesn't match the features that you're claiming are unique to all of these cases. If each one of them has a missing feature that we're expecting, then we can't include it in the data set, because that's going to skew your numbers and make it look like there's more cases that fit all of those criteria than there are, because you are you're stacking the deck. Let's see. I did a lot of, because this, I was wondering why cattle mutilation was trending. So I didn't even, I like passively wondered that when I saw it trending, and then I was looking at L.A. Marzulli, because I was actually wanting to do a show on shadow people this week. So this episode was actually supposed to be shadow people originally, but I did find, when I was looking at shadow people, L.A. Marzulli popped up, because he does that interview thing. He does an interview with someone who encountered shadow people, or claims to have encountered shadow people. So I was watching that, but it really wasn't what I was looking for. I was wanting stuff with footage and maybe some images at least, and didn't have any of that. So And I went to LA's channel because I kind of put him at a sight out of mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking about cattle mutilation. That's what's trending right now. And then I went in there, I'm like, oh, it's Tucker Carlson is the root of all this cattle mutilation trending. So I started doing some investigation. This is where I stole my thumbnail from, except for I slapped Tucker Carlson on it. Yeah, this is just more about these Colorado cattle mutilations. And Smith cited that molecular biologists who studied the substance advised that the compound of elements was not something found in nature. See, this is called weasel words. You don't cite a molecular biologist. You say who it was. This is weasel words. It's like saying most scientists or some scientists claim this, or what did it say in that last one? Some investigators agree or kind of agree or something along those lines. It's wild that people will take that on face value when someone cited that a molecular biologist. No, I need to know who the molecular biologist was and what they studied, and how they studied it to decide that it was not found in nature. This is what this is referring to. That's where it gets very interesting. Smith noted it was three. Hold on, where are we at? Okay, so in South Alabama, radio hosts mentioned the story's reference to a strange substance located on the victimized cows whose genitals and rectum had been carved out in a neat incision. So I think what they're talking about there in the neat incision is that it's kind of like the perforated line. This is gross. I like tapophony. That's the study of how things die and decay and are consumed in nature. That's like a weird morbid curiosity I have. A lot of people aren't into it, but I want to say that the place where your lips, your genitals, your mucous membrane it's just a different density of tissue. But the areas where those meats are more, especially on something with real thick skin like a cow, that's almost like a perforated line that they just peel it off, which is gross to think about. But that's why they say, oh, it's neat incisions. It's because the vulture can grab a hold of that area of the body and pull, and it'll strip away the soft tissue from that, say, cowhide in a nice fine line, because it's like perforation. That's terrible, and the other part is not really terrible with the amount of pressure that the animal's applying to it. Sorry, that's really gross. I didn't mean to gross anybody out, but okay. So they found a strange substance. That's where it gets very interesting. Smith noted it was 3 different elements that were found. One of them was titanium. That was the most prolific element found, I believe, in the substance. So titanium found, are they talking about found on the wounds? On the victim. So on the cows, but it doesn't say that it was on the areas of the incisions. I don't believe it was incisions, but that's just, I guess I'm being incredulous because I think that there's natural ways for this to happen. Oh, the Fife PD described it as a flaky white substance. Okay, so they collected the substance, they put it in a cigarette wrapper. This like top-notch PD activity right there. They don't even have evidence bags. They put it in a cigarette wrapper. Flaky white substance. It came in contact with the ballpoint pen, and once it touched the ballpoint pen, it really just dissolved in some sort of weird liquid state. What? This is a wild claim here. And got these police officers doing this investigation who don't. It doesn't say they're forensics. It doesn't say that they. I mean, they're putting in a cigarette package, poking it in a cigarette wrapper, and poking it with ballpoint pens. That is the level of white, flaky, and soluble in alcohol. What could it be, Brian Stevens? Yeah, but this is not a professional investigation if that's how they're doing things. And then they say the molecular biologist who studied the substance advised that the compound of elements was not something that could have been found in nature. So I guess that the notion that it's synthetic doesn't bother me. I don't know why cows come in contact with synthetic stuff all the time. Were the other cows checked for this synthetic substance, this white flaky substance? Was the white flaky substance found anywhere else on the property? Was it found in the areas of the wounds or just on the animals in general? Did it get on any people? You said it's mostly titanium, but what were the other elements? Because you said there were 3. There's a lot of open-ended stuff here. All right, so, all right, we are going to, and yeah, people always tease me about how many tabs I have, but that's the layout for the show is all this stuff. Usually I don't have them all in tabs like this. When I have multiple screens, I don't have to do it this way. It's because I'm doing it with just StreamYards and not through my OBS like I usually do. So give me a break on all my tabs. I have to have all the content open. Where's PZ when you need him? PZ pops in here usually. He comes to my show. He does it a little bit later in the show, towards the end. We are going to move on though, because we got a lot to talk about this morning. That was Cryptic Corner though, and our friend L.A. Marzulli and the one and only Tucker Carlson presenting to us a case for cattle mutilation. A case for, alien interference with livestock production, which really, if you look into, and I'm going to turn this ring light off because it's driving me crazy seeing it reflected on my glasses. Sorry if I'm a little bit darker and counter sheeted weird now. But that taking the claims about the behavior of scavengers and the way that they consume an organism and making it about aliens or incisions. I don't think the evidence is there that cattle mutilation is caused by incisions. I don't think that holds up. I think that most of the studies that have been done where there's actually citations and not just some biologist said this, that we find that they do indeed indicate predation by scavengers. So cattle mutilations, at least for now, we're going to call that done. Thank you for tuning in for Cryptic Corner. And if you're watching this on Friday, much love from the Hive. Be kind and take care. We'll see you next time.